The current state of debt ceiling in the USA. Examination of the current U.S. national debt situation. The United States national debt has reached significant levels in recent years. According to current statistics, the U.S. national debt stands at approximately $32 trillion. This staggering figure represents the total outstanding debt owed by the U.S. government, including both public debt held by individuals, institutions, and foreign governments, as well as intragovernmental holdings. It is essential to consider the historical context of the U.S. national debt to understand the magnitude of the current situation. In the past decade, there has been a notable increase in domestic holdings of federal debt. From December 2011 to December 2022, domestic holdings of federal debt rose from $6.0 trillion to $17.3 trillion. This upward trend reflects the growing accumulation of debt and the government's reliance on borrowing to finance its operations and obligations. Additionally, intragovernmental holdings, which refer to the debt held by various government agencies, currently stand at $5.35 trillion. When combined with the public debt, the total U.S. debt amounts to $19.19 trillion. It is crucial to note that these figures are subject to change as the government continues to borrow and repay debt. To assess the impact of the national debt, it is essential to consider the debt-to-GDP ratio, which measures the debt burden relative to the size of the economy. The U.S. GDP for the previous 12 months was approximately $18.15 trillion. With a total debt of $19.19 trillion, the debt-to-GDP ratio stands at approximately 106%. This ratio indicates that the national debt is slightly higher than the country's annual economic output. These current statistics paint a clear picture of the United States' historical debt levels, emphasizing the substantial growth in the national debt over the years. The increasing reliance on borrowing and the rising debt-to-GDP ratio indicate the challenges faced in managing the debt burden effectively. Overview of recent policies and initiatives to address the national debt. In recent years, policymakers have recognized the importance of addressing the national debt and have proposed and implemented various policies and initiatives to tackle this challenge. One significant policy measure was the enactment of the Budget Control Act of 2011. This legislation aimed to control spending and reduce the federal deficit by imposing caps on discretionary spending and establishing a joint select committee on deficit reduction. The act also introduced the concept of sequestration, which involved automatic spending cuts in the event that the committee failed to reach an agreement on deficit reduction. Sequestration was designed to encourage lawmakers to find common ground and make the necessary budgetary adjustments to curb the growth of the national debt. Additionally, the bipartisan budget acts have played a role in addressing the national debt. These acts, passed with bipartisan support, aim to provide short-term budgetary relief and avoid government shutdowns. They typically involved compromises between Democrats and Republicans to set spending levels for a certain period and mitigate the risk of fiscal uncertainty. While these acts did not represent long-term solutions to the debt challenge, they demonstrated bipartisan efforts to navigate the complexities of fiscal policy and find common ground. Taxation policies have also been a part of the discussion on addressing the national debt. Attempts have been made to reform the tax code to generate more revenue and enhance the fairness and efficiency of the tax system. These reforms aim to strike a balance between stimulating economic growth and ensuring that the tax burden is distributed equitably. The impact of taxation policies on the debt is a subject of ongoing debate, as policymakers seek to strike the right balance between revenue generation and economic incentives. Efforts to address the national debt have also included discussions and proposals for entitlement program reforms. These programs, such as Social Security and Medicare, represent a significant portion of federal spending. Policymakers have explored potential changes to these programs to ensure their long-term sustainability and mitigate the strain they impose on the national debt. Furthermore, economic growth strategies have been considered as a means to address the national debt. By fostering robust economic growth, policymakers hope to increase government revenue and reduce the debt-to-GDP ratio. These strategies often involve measures such as infrastructure investments, deregulation, and tax incentives to stimulate private sector activity and job creation. While finding a comprehensive and long-term solution to the national debt remains a complex and challenging task, policymakers have made efforts to propose and implement various policies and initiatives. Through a combination of spending controls, budgetary reforms, taxation policies, entitlement program reforms, and economic growth strategies, policymakers aim to address the national debt and achieve long-term fiscal sustainability. It is worth noting that the effectiveness of these policies and initiatives is a subject of ongoing evaluation and debate. The complexities of the national debt challenge require ongoing analysis and adjustments to ensure the efficacy of the chosen approaches. Bipartisan efforts and consensus-building exercises are crucial for fostering cooperation and finding sustainable solutions to address the national debt challenge and secure the economic future of the nation. Evaluation of the effectiveness of debt ceiling measures in the modern era. Debt ceiling measures have been a key component of fiscal policy in the United States, aimed at controlling debt growth and ensuring fiscal discipline. However, evaluating their effectiveness requires a critical examination of their historical track record and consideration of the challenges and limitations they present. Historically, debt ceiling debates have often been characterized by political gridlock and contentious negotiations. The debates surrounding raising the debt ceiling have frequently led to partisan disagreements and last-minute compromises, resulting in short-term extensions and temporary solutions. This has created a sense of uncertainty and unpredictability in fiscal policy, making it challenging for long-term planning and budgetary stability. One key limitation of debt ceiling measures is that they do not address the underlying causes of the debt. They primarily serve as a legal limit on borrowing rather than a comprehensive solution to control spending or address fiscal imbalances. Consequently, there have been instances where the debt ceiling has been repeatedly raised without significant efforts to address the structural drivers of debt growth, leading to a persistent accumulation of debt over time. Moreover, the debates and uncertainties surrounding the debt ceiling have the potential to impact financial markets and investor confidence. In past instances, the mere possibility of the United States defaulting on its debt obligations or the prolonged negotiations surrounding the debt ceiling have created volatility in financial markets, causing disruptions and eroding investor confidence. This volatility can have ripple effects on the broader economy, affecting consumer sentiment, business investments, and overall economic stability. It is important to consider alternative approaches to debt management and fiscal responsibility. Comprehensive budget reforms, long-term fiscal planning, and a focus on addressing structural drivers of debt can provide more sustainable solutions. These approaches involve examining spending patterns, revenue sources, entitlement programs, and tax policies in a holistic manner. By addressing the underlying factors driving debt growth, policymakers can achieve long-term fiscal stability and reduce their reliance on short-term debt ceiling measures. It is also essential to recognize that debt ceiling measures are just one tool among many in managing the national debt. Fiscal responsibility requires a comprehensive and balanced approach that considers both revenue and expenditure measures, as well as economic growth strategies. Implementing a combination of spending controls, entitlement reforms, taxation policies, and long-term budget planning can provide a more effective framework for debt management and fiscal sustainability. In conclusion, while debt ceiling measures have played a role in fiscal policy in the United States, their effectiveness in controlling debt growth and ensuring fiscal discipline has been subject to limitations and challenges. The potential for political gridlock, short-term extensions, and temporary solutions has created uncertainty and hindered long-term planning. Alternative approaches, such as comprehensive budget reforms and long-term fiscal planning, may offer more sustainable solutions. A comprehensive and balanced approach that addresses the structural drivers of debt growth is essential for achieving long-term fiscal stability and reducing reliance on short-term debt ceiling measures.